Okay, so it's time for a little bit of an update on the fishing boat. I've had about 2.5 months and really enjoying it so far. She's going like an absolute train out on the sea, so couldn't ask for more. I've done a lot of modifications to her so far. She was decommissioned about 5 years ago before I got her, and no one really knew what she was, but I've done a bit of research, found out she is called a KB Striker, and based on a 17.5-foot morbass hull. She was bought over here and made, I think there were 3 of them made, and I can find 2 more anyway. However, none were done with this cabin configuration. They're all slightly different, and apparently a gentleman made 3, kept 1 for himself, and sold the other 2 to fund the project, is what I've heard online. That's might be hearsay, but essentially I think we've got here what could be getting close to the ultimate small fishing boat for UK waters. 17.5 foot, very easily trailable. I'm trying to get it as good as I can with sort of learnt from my previous knowledge of how to set up fishing boats and things like that. So let's have a little look round. We're going to start at the stern, see what it's all about, because it's been quite a few hours of work put into her now. There'll be more. She's certainly not there yet, but from what I can see, from the space she offers and the sea keeping capabilities, and the speed and everything that she goes with, she's going to be a pretty good boat. And I've had some good trips on her already, but learning a lot, and each trip gives me something else to think about, something else to add. So let's start at the back, see how we get on. Right, so the first job we had was to fit this, and it was a bit of a trial and error thing really, because it did have a 50 horsepower 2-stroke on it, but I wanted 4-stroke. I wanted electronic fuel injection. I didn't want carbs, and this is the engine from my last boat that I knew that I wanted. I know it's economical, I know it's safe, it's reliable, and I know how it's been serviced. So took this one off my last Alaska and put it on this one, and first thing was a sea trial to see how it went, and this pushed it along absolutely fine, so I was happy with the size. So I got rid of the 50 horsepower 2-stroke that was on there, but one thing on the sea trial we did notice was it didn't get up on the plane as nice as I thought. It got to about 15 knots and it was not wanting to, well, about 12 knots, and it didn't want to jump up as I thought it would. So we've stuck some auto leveling trim tabs on. Now these are quite simple things. They work on the water pressure and they can be set. So as the water pressurizes, essentially as the speed of the boat increases, these push in and they flatten off, sort of elongating the length of the hull, minimizing slam and helping you get up on the plane quicker. While we're back here as well, I put my hand in my pocket and I bought a very nice fish finder. It's a Lowrance, I'll have a look when I get up there, Lowrance 7 hook reveal, but I also went for the big boy transducer as well, just so that I can maximize that. The layout is very similar to my last Alaska, however it is much bigger. It feels bigger because what I love about this boat is if you look at the gunnels there, the sides, they do not go in at the stern, which is what many smaller boats do to get a bit more shape. This one stays nice and wide, and that means that fishing space in the back here is maximised. And one of the things I brought from the Alaska, from my last boat, was this bait table, and again I've just mounted it on pipe clips on a handle and levelled it out with a couple of bits of wood. Simple, it's cheap, it's basic, because it's a bait table. It literally has bait put on it, it's washed down, it's used, it's abused, that's it. It doesn't need to be anything flash, just needs to work. So under there I've now put two fuel tanks. I've got a 33 litre one there and a 25 there, which is more than enough for sort of the stuff that I do. But I've just put a couple of bits of angle plastic in there just to secure them in place. Obviously that one's at a bit of an angle at the moment, but that one will be moved because at some point I'm going to have to bite the bullet and redo this floor. But I know it's safe and I know it's all right for now. That's where the batteries were, and I noticed that when she was just sat in the marina or sat without anyone on it, she did just list to the starboard side, and I think that is because there's the batteries on this side. That's the only thing I could come up with. Now interestingly, when I bought this, underneath this seat I took out two 56-pound weights, so that's sort of best part of 60 kilos worth of weight. So I've moved the batteries from the outside and I've put them both in there. And I've used a wiring kit from Rexel, which is a electric contract supplier place, and they do this nice kit. It's all IP65, and I've hidden the wires under there, and then they come back to the engine from there and just nip out and head back into the engine there. I've then moved the isolator switch to the front of the cruise seat, and I've got another bit of piping that comes along there and joins up with the back of the electrical panel. So with the boat being stood for a couple of years, the electrics were always going to be outdated, and to be honest, it did have a fish finder, it did have a small chart plotter. They weren't wired in, so nothing was wired in on this boat, and I'm not sure whether that's because the guy before just didn't use electronics, because I don't know what, or he took it out before he decommissioned it himself. But I wired a few of the bits up, everything worked on a basic, but I thought, you know what, I need new stuff. If I'm going to do and try and build sort of the ultimate small fishing boat, which is what I want this to be, I need new stuff, I need top of the range gear. So what I've done, as I said, I've got the chirp transducer, I've got Lowrance hook reveal 7 and a standard horizon. That's a very, very small VHF. One of the things I like about this boat is that it's got quite a big dashboard area. These are the holes from the original VHF and chart plotter and depth sounder. So plenty of room, plenty of storage on there. Now what I have done is there was this original VHF in here. I've wired it up, I've tested it, I've stuck it to an aerial and it works. So as far as I'm concerned, that it's not taking up any space there, it might as well stay. So I've got twin VHFs and they're married up to, the new one is married up to a 1.4 metre new aerial, and the old one is on a 1.2 aerial, mainly as a backup, to be honest. The bits I've done, so the other bits I've done electronically, we've got window wipers, twin window wipers. We're not messing around here. They were here already, so I didn't actually have to install them, but they weren't wired up. And we've got a new, just a Amazon special, IP65 rated 5 gang switch panel. It's got USB and it's got 12 volt there as well. And that's just wired up there. Now that looks like a mess, but for me, from where that started, that's basically had a complete rewire. So it's not as bad as it was. So as you can see, the view from the captain's seat is basically a full round view. There's very little, sort of very small angles that you can't see. So another massive bonus of this boat is that. We've got glass windows, and as I said before, we've got the window wipers, but one of the first things that we had to do, because the way that I launched my boat is essentially by myself, and I come through there through the hatch, this window wasn't opening. So what we did, and thanks very much to Gavin for this, it was his little baby, this is his little project, was to put a double glazing handle on there with a bit of wood, and that just opens up on a piano frame in there. Piano hinge even, not a piano frame. Can't fit a piano on the boat, it's not that big. So without going into too much detail about it, this boat was a bit of a bargain for me, so I thought, you know what, bit of a bargain, I'm going to throw a few pound coins at it. So mate of mine said, oh, he knew I was looking for one, so I know where there's a windlass available. So I have done a separate video fitting the windlass, but I did put a windlass on here, and we'll go through my delicious little hatch there. And I got Simpson Lawrence windlass, which is now hardwired, and it goes like the clappers. It's a massive, massive thing not having to handball an anchor up. However, I did have to do a bit of modification at the front, and I'll get out of the boat shortly and talk to you more about that. But while we're here, didn't have fair leads, so I've put port and starboard fair leads on there to make mooring up easier. And I've put all round new cleats on, because they had the bollard type on here first, and they were very small bollards. Big bollards, fine. Big bollards, fine. Small bollards are not okay, because sort of for the size of this rope, the sort of standard sort of mooring rope, couldn't get a decent enough catch on it, so much prefer those ones anyway. Okay, so we come down to the front locker. You'll see I've got a lovely drop from the windlass into the anchor bucket. I've got space for a toolkit, rubbish bin, buoy. I've got the drogue there, loads of storage space. I was a little bit concerned when I first got the boat that there is not much storage on here, but to be honest with you, I took everything off my last boat, stashed it somewhere, stored it somewhere, and then thought, right, well, I've still got space for more and I can't actually see anything. So we've got big storage area at the front, messy storage, a very old life jacket that's not actually in use under there. But we've also got storage under both seats where you've got flares and first aid kit and various bits and bobs in there. And running from the helm position, more tidying needed there, sir. All the wires and cables for the engine and the transducer and the bilge pump go back there. Another little change I have done, I've fitted an inline water separator for a fuel filter. That is on top of my small motorcycle fuel filter that sits between my tank and my primer bulb, and then that goes off and goes through the water separator to the engine. And I've swapped my, I think I had a 1500 gallon per hour automatic bilge pump. I've now swapped that for one that can be on a switch, simply because I think as I was driving down the road, people were getting a bit fed up with it just throwing water out the side, but don't know anything about that, officer. So on the rear, we've got the same cleats, slightly smaller models than the one up front, just simply because they don't need to be as big, because the one at the front could be a towing one and these ones could be doubled up if towing. Also fitted an outboard bracket, got an auxiliary bracket there just in case. Nice solid design. The next thing I'm going to do, or one of the next things I'm going to do, is move these out. I don't mind the white ones so much, these rod holders, but this one needs to go, and I'm going to get some flush mounted ones in the deck here, and I'll do the same on the other side there. I've also got rod holders on these rails. I've got 4 of those just because you never have enough rod holders, I think. So for lighting and things, I've got all new nav lights. I did manage to get the last ones working, but they were pretty rubbish, to be honest. I've got one steaming light on top there, and I've got another nav light this side, which is brand new. So when I did the windlass, made sure that that windlass switch that hasn't been screwed in yet, but it's tight in there, add that to the list. I've made that so that I can operate that with one hand, and if I need to use the winch or help the winch or untangle the winch or whatever it is, so I can control it from there, but also it's close enough to the helm position where I can reach it with my hand and just sit down and do it anyway. So that's an important thing for me, was to make sure that that is in a bit of middle ground between the two places. I tell you what, do you like this steering wheel? That is smart, isn't it? Yes, it's a job on the list. I am going to get a nice one, nice chrome smart one, but I've had some memories me in this steering wheel. Oh, that's the other thing, talking about steering, hydraulic steering. We've got C-Star hydraulic steering on here. I would never, it had Teleflex steering on it actually, and I would never ever go back to Teleflex steering from hydraulic, because this is just, well, just 2 fingers, just so smooth. I know the steering wheel doesn't look great, but the steering, I mean, when you are coming in and you've got one hand on the throttle and one hand on the steering, it's so smooth and easy. And also with hydraulic steering, you don't get the wave, you don't get the movement in the water that you do with Teleflex. You don't get the let's put the power down and then it tries to veer off to one side. It's straight, it's smooth. It is just, it's a game changer when manoeuvring and helming a boat. So when I wanted to put the windlass on, I had a slight problem here because obviously it didn't have a windlass before. And to have a windlass, you need to have a self-dropping or a self-launching anchor roller. So when the pressure on when the chain is released, this bit rocks down, and it gives a good angle for the anchor to roll off. However, you'll notice with the pointy nose of this boat, I needed quite a bit of space in front to allow for the anchor not to hit the front. So I went to West Engineering, and we didn't hatch the plan. I went to them with the plan and they welded it up for me. But essentially this is the old bow roller bracket. So this was here already. I chopped out the bow roller, and then they welded a bit of stainless. I can't claim this idea, this was actually Gav's idea. Well, actually his idea was to go stainless all the way back here, but you know, can't let him take all the glory. So this is the bow roller so I've chopped that out, and I've welded this bit of stainless, or they welded a bit of stainless, and they've welded, I've nut and bolted this to that, and that is absolutely solid. That is not going anywhere, no matter how much you shake it. So that was quite a bit of, it was a few days planning and a few days work, but I think it looks the part, it doesn't look out of place, and it definitely serves the purpose, so couldn't be happy with that little bit. I have put a new trailer on her because the last trailer just wasn't as good as this one, to be quite honest. But got lovely 2-speed winch with a brake and free roll. Spent a lot of time again with Gav sorting out the trailer, making sure it's balanced. We had to move a few things around, moving the winch post and making sure that everything was right. But what we did notice was that the axle had been moved. So the axle did sit in front of this post. You can see that because the guy before had a bigger boat on this trailer, and that wasn't right. So what happened was, when we loaded the boat up, it tipped right backwards, which is no good. So that was a lovely headache for us to try and work that one out. So the guy before me did do a bit of work on this trailer, and actually he's fitted everything with stainless, which was lovely when it came to and greased everything. So it was lovely when it came to manoeuvring bits and actually modifying it. Anti-fouls on the to-do list, or anti-foul remover. And he did a few modifications to it himself, like adding this bar. I'm not 100% sure on it, but because I haven't seen many of them, I'm not sure how much benefit it is. But this one's got a rear roller at an offset, so maybe it helps launch retrieving. Can't say it myself, but it's there, and I'll leave it there for now. I was going to fit this to my last trailer, a little flush kit. I'm not sure how effective it is, but essentially it's just a plug a hose onto it, and it goes through this pipe, the water, and it goes off to a little T-bar, and then each axle has got, each brake hub has got its own freshwater feed. So after you've got your boat back on the trailer, give it a flush, and hopefully that'll prolong the life of the brakes. One of the things I found quite strange about this was these bits. Now these are bolted on wooden bits, but they do actually work, because this is all non-slip. They do actually work if you want to walk around the cabin. We've sort of remedied that by fitting the opening window, but that's what they were for. And it's little things like that really that show that these boats aren't made by professional boat builders. Yes, they were probably laid up by a professional boat builder, because it's an incredibly good finish, mostly on the inside. And the fiberglass work is really top drawer. However, the finish isn't. So there are things that are missing. There are things that have been sort of screwed on, and they haven't used washers. They've used bits of wood. So yeah, it's been made by a professional out of a mold, but then it's been finished and modified by someone who's been trying to make their own fishing boat. And I like that. I like that because that means it's a one-off. Yes, there are a couple more out there like that, but there's no more with this cabin configuration. And it gives me a really good opportunity to start with a pretty empty canvas about building what I can see in my head for the fishing that I do, sort of the ultimate UK small fishing boat, as I said before. But we'll have some adventures. I know we'll have some good times. I know I need to sort out a few more bits for lighting and things for night fishing. I need to sort out some more rod holders. I need to sort out a better steaming light and that sort of thing. Try and find a radar screen to go with the radar dome that's on there, because that was kindly stolen by someone at some point in the past. So there are jobs to do, as always, with a boat, but really enjoying the process. So we'll get out there and hopefully get some more fish over that rail. See you again.